You just got in a car accident. And now you're Googling, texting friends, just trying to figure out one thing. How much is my claim actually worth? Maybe the insurance company already offered you a settlement, and now you're wondering if it's a fair one, or if you're about to leave thousands on the table. And the truth is, if you misjudge this number, it doesn't just cost you money, it can affect your ability to pay for your treatment long-term in the future, and even impact your job and your ability to earn. Hi, I'm Pablo Tamayo, an accident attorney practicing here in Florida for almost 2 decades. And in this video, I'll walk you through exactly how claims are calculated from medical bills to lost income to future treatment that most people forget to include. So you don't get lowballed, you don't get rushed, and finally get a real number that reflects what you've actually been through. Let's get right into it, because I know this is the number one question on everyone's mind after a Florida car crash. How much is your car crash claim actually worth in Florida? Number one, what damages can you actually claim in Florida? Let's start by making this crystal clear. Florida law allows you to recover for more than just fixing your car or paying your immediate medical bills. Damages are broken down into two main groups, economic and non-economic. Economic damages are the ones that you can easily put a number on because you'll have receipts, statements, pay stubs to back up what those numbers are. And here's what usually falls into that bucket. Medical bills. For your hospital visits, your doctor's appointments, your physical therapy, your prescription medications, x-rays, and even for future expected medical treatment if you need ongoing care. Lost wages, the money you didn't make because you had to miss work, plus lost future earning potential if you can't go back to the same job and perform the same duties. Property damage, the cost to fix your car, replace a totaled vehicle, or reimburse you for rental car or Uber or Lyft expenses. Now, non-economic damages are the real wild card, because where a lot of the value in your claim can be found are directly tied to these, which cover things that don't show up on a bill but have a major impact on your life, such as pain and suffering, physical pain, emotional distress, PTSD, loss of enjoyment of life, inconvenience, loss of companionship and support if your injuries impact your relationships with your spouse or your family. So Florida law puts some limits on the types of non-economic damages you can recover. But in cases where you suffered a permanent injury, such as chronic pain, or maybe you had to have surgery requiring the insertion of permanent hardware into your body, or even amputation, these damages can be very significant. And here's the key takeaway. If you just add up your hospital bills and the cost to fix your car, you're missing out on a huge piece of what you're actually entitled to recover for your injuries. Number two, how do insurance companies calculate your claim? You might be surprised to hear this, but there isn't necessarily a magic equation or magic wand to determine what a Florida car crash claim is actually worth. But there are industry standards insurance companies use behind the scenes, and knowing them gives you a huge advantage. First, they'll look at your total medical bills. This is often the biggest driver of your claim amount. But a common mistake people make is thinking the insurance company will automatically pay whatever the doctor charges. But in reality, they will most likely challenge that those bills were not reasonable. They'll also go through your medical records with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any gaps in treatment, pre-existing conditions, or anything that might let them argue your injuries aren't as bad as you claim. Next, they'll add up lost wages, if applicable. Again, you'll need to prove that you weren't actually paid, or you were paid a lesser amount while you were forced to miss work from your injuries. Pay stubs, letters from your employer, tax returns are all things that can prove those matters. After that, depending on the facts of your case, insurance adjusters may use something called the multiplier to put a number on your pain and suffering. They might take your total economic damages, as they've calculated, and multiply it by a number anywhere between 1.5, maybe even 3, 4, 5, depending on how serious your injuries are. Serious injuries, including amputation, are going to be higher, 3, 4, 5, whereas lesser injuries are going to be lower down the scale. A quick example, let's say your medical bills and lost wages, if applicable, come to $50,000. If the insurance company's multiplier is 2, that means they might value your pain and suffering at $100,000 for a total claim value of $150,000. But remember, this would be off $50,000 amount as calculated by the insurance company, which is usually a lot less than the actual medical bills on your invoices. So just because the bills may show $50,000, the insurance company is going to be calculating lower numbers. Of course, every case is different, and this isn't applied uniformly in a sense, but understanding this multiplier game helps you see how insurance companies get to the numbers they offer, or somewhere close. Number 3, what makes a Florida claim worth more or less? Now, let's talk about what actually moves the needle up or down. Let's start with what might increase the value of a case. Permanent injuries. If you have chronic pain, surgeries requiring hardware, significant scarring. If there's clear liability when the other driver is obviously at fault, like in a case of a rear-ending accident in traffic. Strong documentation, photos, police reports, medical records, witness statements, they all help. Treatment by medical specialists, seeing the right doctors such as orthopedic surgeons or neurologists depending on your injuries, can show the seriousness of your injuries and your pain symptoms. Well, what decreases value? Delays in treatment, waiting days or weeks to see a doctor. Let the insurance company argue that you weren't really hurt. Gaps in medical care, missing appointments, or stopping physical therapy early can also hurt your claim. Shared fault. Florida is a modified comparative fault state, which just means if you're found partly at fault for the accident, your compensation is reduced by your percentage of fault. So if you're found by a jury to be 20% at fault, you only get 80% of the total damages. Pre-existing conditions. If your back was already hurting before the crash, the insurance company will try to say your pain was already existing and was not a result of your accident. The surprising hidden categories of compensation. Most people think about car repairs and hospital bills when they think about a car crash claim, but there are several categories of damages you might not know you can claim in Florida. Future medical expenses. If you'll need ongoing medication, therapy, or possibly even a future surgery, you're entitled to claim those future costs, but you have to demand it and you have to prove it because insurance companies will certainly push back and challenge any future medical care claim that you assert. Loss of earning capacity. Maybe you can go back to work, but not in the same job, or you have to take a lower paying job position because of your injuries. You can't perform the same duties like you could before. You can recover the difference of what you are no longer able to earn as a result of the accident. Household services. If your injuries mean you need help with chores, cleaning, yard work, the cost to hire someone can be factored into your claim. Mental health treatment. Anxiety, depression, PTSD from the crash are all valid injuries under Florida law. If you need counseling or medication, those costs are included in your claim. Loss of consortium. This is compensation for how your injuries affect your relationship with your spouse or family member. Maybe you can't play with your kids, or you can't help the same way around the house, and your spouse is forced to take on more duties around the house. These all add up. Future medical expenses can significantly increase the claim if proven. Don't assume your insurance company is looking out for you here, though. They're not. It's on you or your attorney to document and demand these hidden damages. The impact of Florida's no-fault system. Florida is a no-fault state. Here's what that means for your car crash claim. No matter who caused the crash, your own insurance, your personal injury protection, or PIP insurance pays your initial medical bills and lost wages up to $10,000. This sounds good, but here's the catch. That $10,000 goes fast, especially if you end up in the ER or you need significant follow-up care. Once your PIP is used up, you have to look at the at-fault driver's insurance to compensate you for the rest of your medical bills. And you can only make a claim for future medical care if you qualify for PIP and you suffer a permanent injury, significant scarring, or loss of important bodily function from a car accident. This is where having knowledgeable Florida attorney matters. If your injuries meet the legal threshold, your claim value can go way up. If not, you could end up with just your economic damages paid from PIP. So when you're making decisions after a crash, remember, PIP is just the first step. To get full value, you need to know if your case rises above Florida's permanent injury threshold. Why the first settlement offer is almost never enough. I can't stress this point enough. The first offer from the insurance company is almost always low, a lowball offer. And here's why. Their job is to pay you as little as possible. They know you're stressed. You might be missing work, getting calls from bill collectors, or needing a new car to get around to work. They offer you a check, hoping you'll cash it and move on before you know the full extent of your injuries. But here's what you may not realize. If you settle too early, you give up the right to pursue additional damages that come up later, even if your injuries get worse or you discover you need surgery 6 months later. I've seen people accept $5,000, $10,000 when their case was really worth $50,000 or more, just because they didn't know better and the quick cash was enticing under the circumstances. My advice, don't even think about settling until you know the full extent of your injuries, your doctors have a long-term treatment plan in place for you, and you've talked to a Florida car accident attorney, even if it's just a free consultation. How to get a realistic estimate for your claim? So after all of this, how do you figure out what your Florida car crash claim is worth? Start by adding up the medical bills and the lost wages, if any. Then think about your pain and your suffering. How much has this crash changed your day-to-day life? Did you miss your daughter's graduation because you were in the hospital? Do you wake up every day in pain? That's worth something. Believe me. Next, look at those hidden categories. Will you need more treatment? Can you go back to your old job? Is your family life different now? How often do you have to make decisions based on your injuries every day now? Are you more hesitant with using different body parts because of your injuries? The truth is, every case is unique. Two people in the same crash can have two very different outcomes depending on their injuries and their lives before and after the accident. That's why there are no average settlement calculators that get it right. The best way to get a realistic estimate is to reach out to an attorney who knows Florida car accident law and can look at all the details of your case. Your next step to protect your rights? Now you know the real factors that decide how much is my car crash claim worth in Florida. It's not just about your hospital bill or a quick insurance offer. It's about understanding what the law allows, what your injuries have truly cost you, and how to avoid the traps that can limit your claim. But there's still one huge question that most people have. How do my medical bills affect my car accident settlement? That's the topic of our next video. You absolutely need to watch it before you speak to an insurance adjuster or sign any paperwork regarding your claim. It could mean the difference between a lowball offer and a fair settlement. Click on how medical bills affect your car accident settlement, and I'll see you over there.